Welcome to this presentation about NexusDB. NexusDB has been under development for many years, and it's based on industry standards backed by both development from the real world plus the research that we have actually conducted in-house ourselves. As a consequence, Nexus is very stable and a very mature product. In this presentation, we will showcase a number of the features and functionality that NexusDB provides to Delphi and C++ builder developers. To illustrate the ease of getting started with Nexus, we'll build a simple client-server application in a matter of minutes and then demonstrate some of the power of the engine. The presentation will conclude with a roadmap of the new features under construction that we intend to release over the next 18 months or so. Let's have a look at a few of the features of NexusDB. Nexus was built to be an ultra-fast database client-server engine. It was built from the ground up in Delphi for the Delphi and C++ builder developers. It's nimble enough to be fully embedded in your desktop applications and yet powerful enough to be your primary database server. There are no annoying DLLs to be distributed. Secondly, it's a royalty-free database system with features that rival other more heavily licensed products. That is, it introduces unique features for Delphi developers while further developing on those initial core strengths of stability, performance, and flexibility. Finally, NexusDB implements the core SQL 2003 standard. Now, that functionality is missing from a lot of other SQL engines. In addition, Nexus augments this 2003 standard with extensions to expose Nexus-specific functionality. For instance, drop table if exists. I'm sure we've all had fun and games determining if a table exists before dropping it. Well, so what's in the future for NexusDB? What are we actually working on? What's our roadmap through to the end of next year, say? Well, over that period of time, we'll be releasing a number of significant new versions, including extensions to our core concepts of stability, performance, and flexibility. Now, what I'm about to list for you here now is stuff that we are actually working on. Some of it we've actually been working on for quite literally over 6 years. Anyway, what we envisage will be coming out from our research labs will be the following. Full native Android support. Initially, we'll release client support and then a core engine. The core engine is turning out to be an interesting exercise in bashing your head against a brick wall for those of us who have actually had to write engines for Android. Very interesting. The Intel CPUs are very mature compared to the ARMS chips. The next thing that we'll be releasing will be the full text indexing enhancements, which we've included into our blueprint, into our actual theoretical document that we work on here prior to the implementation. So the theory on that has already been done, was actually completed many years ago. The implementation is proven to be tricky, but we will have that out soon. And of course, something that's also been in development for the last 2 to 3 years is a new file format. We're currently at NexusDB version 4. This new file format will be version 5, and it's optimized for solid-state drives. That, of course, fits hand in hand with the native Android support for the core engine. And finally, something that we've been working on for longer than the above 3 is the long-awaited rewrite of the SQL engine, which we've dubbed the project NXSQL2. Now, our aim with this, and we're getting there, is to support the full and complete standard for SQL 2003. Currently, our SQL 1 engine supports, or implements, I should say, the core of that standard. With SQL 2, NXSQL 2 that we're putting out, we're doing the core, the extensions to the core, and the vendor-specific features as per the extension specs in that standard. Well, I'm looking forward to all of this. It's actually finally seems to be coming together for us in terms of these extra features and functionalities that we're putting out. It's always a race against the increase and improvement in technologies, but hey, that's what keeps the hair grey and the spirit supposedly young. Thank you very much for your time. NexusDB is much more than just a replacement DBMS for the deprecated BDE. The Nexus suite includes components and tools to build and deploy enterprise-level, fully featured database systems that scale from single-user embedded application through to applications that can be deployed at a global level. Consider these features: Nexus comes with intuitive developer and DBA management tools. There you have flexible deployment. You can deploy a fully embedded application, a client-server standalone, or a registered Windows service with full event logging. Transactional support has 3 different levels. Snapshot, fail-safe, and nested transactions are all available. You can also perform online real-time backups in any environment, including 24/7. It's basically maintenance-free. The server reuses buffers and automatically balances indices. Obviously, with royalty-free licensing, once you've purchased NexusDB, that is it. You can deploy without any additional fees or per-user additional costs. There are login rights and securities on the Nexus server, and advanced industry-standard encryption and security keeps the server-side data safe. Let's now look at what you get with NexusDB. Once you've installed it into the IDE, then you will find that you have 49 components added to your NexusDB tab in the tool palette. Now, that's pretty impressive. That's why we make the claim that we have the best Delphi C++ builder development DBMS system available. You get full source code, and if you need security and encryption is an issue and you wish to get the best, then the Enterprise Edition adds a further 18 additional components to this palette. What a bargain. Okay, what else have we got though? We've also got additional drivers and tools to supplement, especially these may be of interest when deploying to additional sites. Allow your products to be deployed and your customers' data to be accessed with use of these tools and techniques. Enterprise Manager, that's the main developer and DBA tool for creating and maintaining your databases. There's a server user interface if you decide not to deploy as a Windows service. This interface has an easy to use view that even your end users will love. Oh, just stumbling over a few words there for the heck of it. The sensible default settings can easily be changed. Basically, the default settings are good to go. Most of our developers don't even bother changing those default settings. There's a PHP connector pack to allow you to access directly from PHP without using the ODBC driver if you don't want. We've also got an ADO.NET provider, which will fully integrate into the latest versions of Visual Studio. And of course, there is an ODB connector driver that you can use to connect from Excel, Word, or even from ASP for web pages.
Hi, my name is David Guest. I've been in the computer business since 1957. Currently, I am a programmer at Phelps Memorial Hospital Center in Sleepy Hollow, New York. I've used NexusDB since the very beginning, July 2003. It is an incredible product. I've built over 100 databases with it, and I've never, ever had a single instance of data corruption or data loss. It just runs and runs and runs. It does not need a DBA. It is simple to deploy and monitor. The Enterprise Manager is so easy to use it doesn't need a manual. And I can fit a database up to 32 gigs in the memory, even in a 32-bit machine. It really is incredible.
For our first project, let's build a genuine client-server database application which connects to a remote NexusDB server. To make it more interesting, we'll embrace the Delphi RAD philosophy and create the entire application without writing a single line of code. The Nexus components in XEA allow us to not only do this, but also to view how the application looks in the IDE. Firstly, let me show you what the final system will look and perform like. I remind you this is a genuine client-server application created and which can be distributed without writing a single line of code. Let's face it, Delphi RAD rocks. So, here's the server that is running on this development PC, as you can see here. Note that there are no connections open to the server at this moment. Okay, let's boot the application. I have a shortcut over here, and up pops in time the familiar BioLife table from DB Demos. I've already converted this table from Paradox to NexusDB using our importer utility. Now, that's a bit uninteresting. This is client server. Let's boot a couple of more instances so that we can see this running on different records in the same table at the same time. So we bring this one down over here so that we can see what we're looking at. And if I bring the server up here, we can see that we've got 3 open sessions, 3 connected transports, messages have been sent, actual data has been sent and received as shown on the server here. Okay, now obviously this is not file sharing. All the clients are making data requests through the same NX server. You can see here that they're all logged in with the NexusDB server. Now, let's, with a bit of playing around, let's see how we can do this. Remember, not a line of code. So I'll put this down, I will close this off, I will close this off, and I will close this off. Let's look at the project NX88 and boot it up. I have it sitting here in the background, and here it actually sits. Now, as you can see, if we go to the code tab, there's not a line of code here. Okay? The entire client application is created visually in the design pane. To that end, let me remove all the components and I will build the whole project again. It truly does not take much time at all. So, with our blank canvas, we need to put down the components necessary to connect to a database on the server that I was showing you here before. There are now no connections, obviously, because I closed those off before, and there's none even from the IDE itself. So, we need the following components linked together. Go to the Tool palette, and we'll go to our Nexus tab. So, what we need is a remote server engine. We need a TCP IP transport, the so-called WinSock transport. Now we need a session to that server. We need a database within that session, and we're going to look at a table connected to that database. Now, in this component chain, we need to link these together. Again, they can all be done visually. As I was saying to you before, it's pretty straightforward. We just click on each component in turn. This is the TCP one, so we will set it to the loopback adapter 1.7.0.0.1, and we will make that active at design time. If we now look just for a moment at the server, we can see that we've got 1 connected transport, no sessions. We now go to this remote server engine, connect it to the transport by simply double-clicking it, and design time active, move to the session, connect that to that server engine. Again, we'll make that active. Now we come to the database component, which is quite important. Again, with the database component, we connect it to the session that's there. And now we need to make it design time active, and we notice that no alias name or path is set. You must set that first. Fortunately, everything else up here in the component chain has been set active at design time, so we should see all of the databases that are on that server that we are connected to. So we'll connect to DB demos and we'll make that active, and this time we get a good clean connection. Go to the table and just connect it to the database. Move down to the tables and we'll connect to the BioLife table as such. Now, here's an interesting thing. We want to see it at design time, which is true, but we also want to, without writing code, we want it to be active at runtime, so we enable that property as well. We're now actually ready to go. So back to the tool palette. This time we need to move up to our data access, get a data source, bring that over, connect the data source to the table, which is pretty easy, to the data set index table 1. Go back to our tool palette. This time we'll go to the data controls, we'll whack a grid on the form, and as you all know, it's pretty straightforward. We connect that to our data source, and as you can see, we can the actual data from the BioLife table is now available to be viewed at design time. Again, no lines of code written, a pretty neat thing. If I recall correctly, I also put down a DB image over here from memory, and I connected that up, obviously, to the object inspector, data source. Data field will be the graphic. There's the graphic. And there's our little fishy, fishy. And we can scroll through. Oh, that reminds me, we also put in on here a navigator. So there's our navigator. I like to stretch it out a bit and make it look pretty. Move that down a bit. Move it in. Here we go. OCD jumps to the fore. And away. Oh, that's not very nice, is it? There we go. And there we have it. I've built the entire form. I'll save that. I've built the entire form without writing a single line of code. We go back, and as promised, no code. Again, we have one open connection to our server here. There are two sockets, obviously, back and forth. And if we now run this, we should have exactly the same result as we had before. Little connection, and there we go. There is the program running. As I said, I've got a link to it here, so we can boot that up as well and watch that and have two different sessions running. In fact, if we really wanted to be interested, we could... oh, that's interesting to see. I forgot to connect up. Thank heavens for Delphi IDE. I forgot to connect the DB Navigator to the data source. If we now run that, and hey presto again, and this time the DB Navigator is working just as we wanted. Well, I hope you get from that a sense of how easy it is to create a genuine client-server database application. Remember, this is not file sharing. This is client-server. All requests to the database are ported through the one server engine.
My databases are backed up nightly without having to be closed. It's just incredible, and I can deploy it as many times as I want, anywhere in the world, with no deployment costs and no per-seat royalties. And now with .NET, it allows me to work with ASP.NET and build beautiful web-based products that have the support of NexusDB, an extremely fast and flexible database system. Try it. You'll love it.
In this second example, rather than build an application for you, I'm going to go to one of the examples that comes with NexusDB. I'll actually go to a Delphi example here. As you can see, there's a lot of samples distributed and example programs for you that will actually help you learn and pick up Nexus in a pretty short space of time. In this case, I'm going to go to the remoting, because you would have noticed there was a lot of remoting components. So we'll go to the remoting, and let's do some client-to-client messaging. There's 3 examples in here. It's quite interesting what you can do with remoting. In this case, I've already actually compiled and built the program. Wow, we're really getting into the talk here now. And I have the server here booted up. The server is going to have nothing to do with the database. This is just purely client-to-client talking. So when my form connects up, you'll notice that there's a session started. The second user logs in, we've got 2 sessions, no databases. So let's go user 1, promiscuous, and connect. This will be user 2, promiscuous, connect. Still the 2 sessions, no databases. This has got nothing to do with databases. We'll see later when we look at the source code and the visual components necessary to create this example. Now, what this does, obviously, is it allows chatting between your different client applications via a common Nexus database server. So in here, I'll just say simple message to number 2. I'll get my client list, get 2, and I'll send the message to 2. And not surprisingly, simple message to 2 appears over here for user 2. Let's add another couple of users just for the heck of it. And we can see straight away that the 4 sessions have been established with the database server. Let's go in and have a look. So this will be user 3 connected, user 4, connect them, get a client list here, client list there. We'll need to refresh the client lists up here. And this time, user 4 is going to say hi to all, and he's actually going to broadcast that to everyone. And the message hi to all has now gone around to these other users. So 3 responds hi back, and to all of you as well. And we will broadcast that, and that again goes back to everyone. Okay, so that's a very interesting little thing. Allows you to actually chat via a Nexus server to other users that are connected to that server as well. Here's the application, the example application I was talking about before. There's only 3 components. That's all that's necessary. The main thing here is that our remote server is connected to a WinSock transport, and as per my last example where I'm using the loopback adapter because everything's just one on here, the main PC. My main development PC here at the moment. The number of lines of code to achieve this is actually, as you can see, less than 200 lines of code, including all of the stuff that Delphi pads around the actual source code. So it's all in there, it's simple, there's some comments there for you to see, to read as you go through. It's pretty straightforward. Well, that was what I wanted to finish off with, and I hope you have enjoyed this little presentation. I'll catch you another time. Bye.